Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GA with me, Seamus, Brady and Luke Peyton. And in this video, we are going to run through the two Táilteann Cup Semi Finals from 2023. So we had two games that were very different in terms of level of competitiveness. We're going to start, Luke, with the one which was an absolute massacre. Down 8 goals and 16 points. 8 goals and 16 points. Laois, 2 goals and 12 points from Croke Park. I don't think I've ever seen a game like a national semi-final where a team has put 8 goals past the other one. I mean, this right from the start was a complete mismatch. If this was a boxing match, the referee would have stopped it pretty much immediately. Down had 4 goals in 16 minutes. Like, just how could it have been this one-sided?
Yeah, no, look, and that's the thing is that I think, yeah, like you said as well, is that after you could have waved the white flag after 15 minutes, and it was a bit of it was like a funeral procession after that, really, and it was oh geez, it was it was done before it started, really. And I think from Billy Sheehan's perspective and Laois, they got after what was can only be described as an absolutely miserable year for Laois football. They got a bit of a run in the Táilteann Cup as well, and there was finally a bit of optimism in the county a little bit, and there was even like a little bit of excitement ahead of today as well. And Jesus, it was like bang, within 10 minutes there was all that optimism up in smoke. And you know what? I think there'll be big questions in Laois now about how they're going to progress as well. And I wouldn't be entirely shocked that maybe the Billy Sheehan era might be over as well. As that, look, I think he was already under pressure last year a little bit, and look, I think after a result in the nature of that as well, when you're carved open for 8 goals, like I think it is probably a worrying from a Laois perspective, but it does show that it's two counties in opposite trajectories as well. So Laois football seems to be going on a downward curve, but look, down football, there is more optimism there as well, considering where they were last year. And yeah, look, it's the Táilteann Cup. It's not, it is the B championship here as well, but they do have to start somewhere. And look, I think they'll be very quietly confident. I think that they'll have enough to turn over Meath in the final in Croker.
Yeah, no, I do think that they actually will, because I think their style is so well suited to Croke Park. But we have a comment in here from Meath, man. I don't want to take away from Laois, but they are god awful. The amount of times Down ran through them without being marked. Laois were one of the worst sides to ever get to Croke Park. And look, like, I do genuinely think, I don't want to talk about this as if, like, I'm just basing this off post-game analysis. I didn't give Laois a chance coming into this game. I literally didn't give them a chance, because like, the other thing that everybody needs to talk about is it's so funny how when people don't really watch that much, that then one result and the wool is completely pulled over everyone's eyes. Like, they beat Fermanagh and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, Laois, on the rise. It's like, hang on, they failed to get promoted from Division 4. They got beaten at home by Wicklow in a game where they had to win to get promoted. I think they got beaten as well. They got beaten by someone else. I want to say it was Leitrim, in a game where they really needed to win to get promoted, and they botched it. They didn't get promoted out of Division 4. Dublin literally tore them limb from limb in the Leinster Championship. Look, that's not too much to be ashamed of. Then they go into the Táilteann Cup. They were so lucky to get a draw against London. Like, I mean, so lucky. They did their best to throw that game away. Then they play against Fermanagh, a Fermanagh side who, not trying to sound bad, like a Fermanagh side that had been bang average in the Táilteann Cup. A Fermanagh side that were lucky to not lose at home to Wexford. A Fermanagh side that did lose to Antrim. And then they got Laois, and they had another terrible performance, and Laois just managed to capitalise on them. And, like, that's the type of thing. Like, do you have the comments in here again? Like, Meadman says, I watched them draw to London in front of barely anybody, beyond shocked that they even got to the semi-final. Yeah, like, that's the type of thing. I was surprised that Limerick didn't beat them. And don't get me wrong, the Limerick one was a good victory. But the way that people then started talking about them as if they were somehow going to beat Down, like, come on. Like, that was never going to happen. We have another comment in here from David Carroll. Did Pete Dublin ever score 8 goals against anyone? I don't think so. No, it didn't happen. I can't remember that. But, like, do you get what I mean? Am I being too harsh on them? Or, like, because, like, don't get me wrong, Billy Sheehan is a great coach, and I actually have had the honour of being to a few of his sessions. He did a few guest sessions with my club where he came up and I attended them, and he's a really, really good coach, like a fantastic football man, definitely knows his stuff. But I just think he's being dealt as if he's playing poker, and he's been dealt a terrible hand. Like Laois, player for player, don't have the players that Down have. When you look at the pace, when you look at the power of the likes of Liam Kerr or on Murdoch, like, sprinting through the Laois defence. Like, what can you do, really? What way can you set them up that doesn't happen?
Yeah, that's the thing though. But then at the same time, we were looking at some of the players like Trevor Collins, Robbie Piggott a couple of years ago as well. That these fellas were being labelled as top quality players as well. And when you talk about the defensive structure and stuff as well, I think what we saw today was a complete absence of a defensive structure too. Is that I do think that look, you look at what Mickey Hart's dealing with, is working with currently with Loud, his resources that he has, the pool of players that he has, and I'd argue as well, is that, would you say that the quality of player in Loud is better than Laois? I don't think it
No,
is. I think
no.
that I think that team can be elevated a lot more than what they're currently performing at, and I think that any team, you have to work out if that requires you to not play the most beautiful football for the first year or something as well. But look, they could be way more effective than what they're currently being. And look, yeah, all credit to Down. They absolutely rampaged them. But look, it is embarrassing. And that look, the comment says it all there as well. Is the fact that we can't even think of a time when Dublin or Kerry in recent years. I can't think of a time really when anyone has gone up to Croke Park and hit 8 goals. Like, I don't think I've ever seen it happen, that a team has scored 8 goals in Croke Park. And look, to be on the receiving end of that as well, it's that is a low moment. But look, I think Down as well, they'll be absolutely delighted. And you say going into as well, you talk about Liam Kerr, they've Pat Havern as well, they've Brannigan in corner forward as well. They've some classy enough forwards up there too. And yeah, look, but I think they'll be going into that with huge optimism as well. They have bought into Conor Laverty as well. Yeah, look, there was the controversy surrounding the whole Kilcoo thing at the start of the year, but the camp is very unified now, and look, they have obviously improved like tenfold from what they were last year too. So yeah, look, I think it's a tale of contrasting uh, uh, emotions, I suppose, in the two counties. But I do think Laois could look at where Down were last year, and just a slight change in evolution, a figure in there as well that can galvanise a group, and how quickly it can be turned around. Because I'd say a year ago, if somebody said to Down, you'd be playing in Croke Park and you'd score 8 goals to get into a national final, they'd say you're nuts, because
Yeah.
they were absolutely all over the place last year. There was no real cohesiveness whatsoever to that team, and they were being ripped limb from limb in most games last year. So for them to go to where they are now as well, like Laois have to look at that and think that's what the challenge that we face ahead of us.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, and Down still have world class players to come back, like Jerome Johnston, Keelan Mooney. These lads were involved in the panel over the last couple of seasons. Players that really caught my eye. I thought, in particular, Keelan Mooney was someone that I really, really liked. I hope he comes back. Ryan McAvoy as well wasn't playing as well. Like, if they can get these lads back into the Down panel, they can get even better, which is something that I think is be crazy when you watch that game. But just like the style of them, like the movement, like for the goals. Like, I'm going to run through the goals. The first goal came in the first minute from Liam Kerr. The next one came from Pat Havern, and then that was in the 10th minute. Then in the 14th minute, Sheila and Johnston got the third. In the 17th minute, or 16th minute, sorry, Danny McGill got the fourth. Then immediately after the restart of half time, Liam Kerr got his hat trick in the 37th minute to get the fifth goal. 49th minute, Down got their sixth goal from Oran Murdoch to make it 6-11 to 7 points. Then Rory Mason tucked away a beautiful goal. Like, that team move was fantastic. That made it 7-13 to 8 points. Then in the 62nd minute, Down responded immediately. Laois had got a goal down the other end, but then Danny McGill got his second goal for Down to make it 8-14 to 110. A late Laois penalty by Mark Barry, well tucked away, made it Laois' second goal. Game finished 8-16 to 2-12. I mean, for Laois, look, where can you go? But Down look damn good, and I think their style in Croke Park gives them the best of chances to even the score with the other side that got into the Táilteann Cup Final of 2023, which was Meath. Meath 216, Antrim 214. And I'm going to go out on a whim here and say that I actually think Antrim left this game behind them. I think it was there for them right at the end. I was watching the game. And I think Antrim lost the game in 3 mistakes that they made, right? So here's where they made the mistakes. They got lucky. Connor Johnson takes a shot for a point. It hits the post. It rebounds back down. Quick bit of interplay. Ends up with Patrick McBride palming home to the net. Here's then from that point on where I think Antrim lost the game. First mistake. Immediately from the kick out, Sean Brennan kicks it out. Adam Lochran intercepts the short kick out. He's running straight at the Meath defence. He has an option to his right and an option to his left, and one Meath defender in front of him. And you can tell he almost had too much time, and he overthought it, tried to do a dummy solo, overhit the solo straight into the Meath defender, who then ran away with the ball. Then on, Meath went straight down the other end, should have got it, a score, didn't. Then a throw ball. Then from the resulting kick out, the Antrim goalkeeper kicked the ball out too short to his Antrim defender, who stepped inside the D to catch the ball rather than just waiting until the ball came out to him. Then from the resulting throw up, the Antrim player won it, pushed the Meath fella off the ball, and palmed it straight to Matthew Costello, who was standing in front of him, who just turned around and clipped it over the bar. And I was watching the telly thinking, this game is so there for Antrim if they can just cut out these little mistakes that they're making. But on the flip side, when Meath needed somebody to step up, and I mentioned his name there, Matthew Costello did step up. Him and Jordan Morris just got those crucial scores to see Meath over the line. Now, it was in far less impressive fashion than, of course, Down dispatched Laois by, but I think they were playing against harder opponents. And remember, this is an Antrim side that actually beat Down in the league.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. I think, look, Antrim, there's a lot of feeling from Antrim that they are disappointed, that they feel like they should be in a national final here as well. And look, going through the game, Meath probably were in control of it for much of the game. You talk about the Antrim goal coming late on as well. Before that point, Meath probably do look like they're in control, that they are going to have enough to coast probably the last little bit in there as well. Then a bit of panic sets in, and all of a sudden you have a game in your hands as well. And like you said, look, a few different plays there as well, and that game could have went very differently. But look, Meath probably do have that experience, that they have that little bit more familiarity. They're up in Croke Park a little bit more. Jeez, I don't even know if Antrim, I can't even imagine when Antrim last played a football match in Croke Park. So, like, I think for them to get that experience of getting to come up and play will do them world good. When it comes down to it as well, it's the old cliche of saying that, look, the teams that have a little bit more know-how do seem to grind out those games, and it is a common team, and that's, I suppose, what happened. Like you said, Jordan Morris has kind of stepped up. He's kicking the scores when they need to as well. And and those players that you mentioned there too, they still have like the bit of experience around them as well, particularly the half-back line, Doug Kyogan, Porrick Harnan as well. So just those kind of old kind of dogs, I suppose, that know how to win these kind of games. So look, I think it's job done for me. They got a tougher challenge as well. Down coming in, have they been tested? Not fully sure. Did they come in a little bit cold after that game there as well? Whereas Meath actually have to survive a bit more of a war. So look, it's an intriguing enough final to predict. And look, I think if you're going based on that form, I think you probably say Down. Their performance was so impressive that you put them as the favourites, but it just comes down to how much can you read into that as well. It's been a great turnaround by Meath, considering as well at the start of the year there was already talk that O'Rourke mightn't even last the season. He has turned it around pretty well. They've actually adopted some sort of defensive systems as well, that they aren't going out completely gung-ho 6-2-6 anymore. So look, I think Meath have shown improvement. They have some good players in there too, and I think I might lean Down as my early prediction for it as well. But that is, I don't know whether that's based on Laois being really poor or Down being very, very, very good.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. But we've commented in it. I feel Antrim went through underrated. I honestly think they are as good as a Cavan or Down or Meath, as shown today. There was poor shooting on both sides. Yeah, I definitely agree that there was poor shooting on both sides. Like, I mean, some of the misses from both teams coming towards the end, especially, both teams were making huge mistakes. And look, I do think that also, if Antrim had taken their chances, then Meath definitely would have left it behind them. I think it got to a stage for a few minutes where it was like who could make the least mistakes. Both teams were making so many mistakes at the end of the game, missing key chances, etc. But that game was there for either of them, and Meath just clutched up that little bit at the end to take it. Yeah, I probably would agree with you. As of right now, it's hard to watch Down score 8 goals in a semi-final and then say that they're not going to win the final. We have a comment in here from David Carroll. Meath dominated the third quarter. Antrim were better for the first half and final quarter. Meath just made the most of the dominant phase, but still very flaky. Yeah, look, Meath came out in the second half, scored something like 1-3 or 1-4 without reply. Really, meant business at the start of the second half. Jordan Morris getting the early goal. And yeah, that did put them right back into the driving seat, right back into control. But it was just more a case of that I was surprised with how they just took their foot off the gas and let Antrim come roaring back into the game. Like another side manages that game out a bit better. I think to look at the game in Parnell Park between Meath and Down, I don't think is actually that applicable to this game because Down shot something like 16, 17 wides in that game in Parnell Park. And on top of that, Croke Park is such a bigger surface. It's such a bigger playing area. And that will suit Down's style of play more. Like those quick runs, Liam Kerr, Oran Murdoch, Danny McGill, those powerful runners that they have from deep, that will suit them more. So I think they're going to have to come up with an answer to that. They're going to have to come up with a way to block those runners because Laois could not get a grip on them at all. But it will be Meath versus Down in the Táilteann Cup Final of 2023. And obviously closer to it, there will be a full preview here on Cluiche. So do make sure that you check that out. And yeah, guys, until the next episode, we are going to now hop over to another live stream for the hurling quarterfinals review. So if you want to check that out with us, do be sure to hop over and check that. We are going to set another live stream now. We've one more comment in before we leave it. Down shot 17 wides, but a lot of that was due to Meath's defensive structure. RTE even did a piece on it today. The structure forces people out wide. Yeah, well, if they can do that again in Croke Park, then they have a massive chance of winning. And we will include all that in our official preview of the Táilteann Cup Final. But yeah, if you want to check out the hurling quarterfinals review, do be sure to hop over to the other live stream now and check that out. And until the next one, guys, take care.